Welcome to Health and Safety Conversations. Here's your host, Tom Bourne.
Hi, and welcome to Health and Safety Conversations. I'm your host, Tom Bourne, and with me today is the marvelous Arnaud Daurat. Arnaud, how are you?
Very good, thank you. Yeah, thank you for having me, Tom.
Whereabouts are you based, Arnaud?
So based in New Zealand. So the board is based in New Zealand, but working globally, but sunny today, so happy.
Excellent. And the temperature in New Zealand is roughly?
What would that be? So today I think it would be around 23-ish. It's a bit unusual because it's getting quite hot as we are getting into spring, but it would be around 23 today.
Excellent. I know I've done a little bit of research on you, but for those who don't know you yet, can you tell us a little bit about you and your professional history, and more importantly, what are you doing now?
So basically, the company started about, in my mind, about 7 years ago. So basically, I had a landscaping practice, which I still run. So along Exovantage, essentially. So a lot of construction work, and I wanted to ensure that my staff had a retirement. So basically, I could see that how lifting, handling material, building decks and paving, etc., was impacting mentally and physically on all of us. At the time I didn't have everyone on earth in mind, but I looked how I could augment and support them, and then discovered, basically powered and passive exoskeletons. But it is true that people do ask, how did I transition from construction to biotechnology? But for me, there was a natural progression. There was a bridge there, a natural bridge. So then with Exovantage, visiting hundreds of workplaces within most industries, I was shocked, right, to see that as employers, what we demand from our staff, hard, repetitive physical work is truly heartbreaking. And we wonder why the aliens are not sticking around when seeing this. It is truly heartbreaking. So we do have a duty of care to our blue collar, talents. And, I think that, as an organization, as a CFO, as a CEO, you might not be remembered for increasing the productivity of your organization by 20%, but you will definitely be remembered for caring for your staff. So this is where it's all started for me, and then incorporating the company and getting the board and then getting traction globally.
Excellent. All right, you mentioned exoskeletons. What exactly are we talking about here? Are we talking about hard frames supporting workers' backs? Well, what precisely are we talking about?
So wearable robotics or exoskeletons are smart PPE tools, right? They're tools designed to augment and protect staff when performing repetitive tasks, such as bending, lifting, handling. So we have powered exoskeletons, so battery operated, and passive exoskeletons, so purely mechanical. And passive exoskeletons are as light as 500 grams. So very, very light, very breathable. And our range of exoskeletons protect mainly the back and the arms, right? So 7 DOF, as we call it, so 7 degrees of freedom, which includes your shoulders, your elbows, your wrists. So how do they help? For example, if you are palletizing products all day in logistics, what we call divining teams, right? Or boning and gutting in a meat processing plant, or handling patient in and out of beds as a nurse, or even handling suitcases as a baggage handler in aviation. So when you're doing all those repetitive tasks, and when you are wearing the exoskeleton, you kind of feel that you are floating, that your torso is floating, or your arms are floating. So all the pressure that you have on your lower back or your shoulders are kind of, we're going to say absorbed through the exoskeleton. It's not the right word, but it works a bit differently, but it's the easiest way to understand it. So, and it is a truly amazing feeling for the user. And the good thing about it, Tom, is that it is instant. You don't need a day to find out. You don't need a week to find out. You put it on and you see the smile, the relief on the user is instant.
Yeah. So I can see basically, because back injuries in particular, musculoskeletal injuries, but back injuries in particular, are in developed worlds, not sure about the underdeveloped world, but in the developed world, it is without doubt the most common cause of injury and debilitating injury. I would suggest that for something like this, the sky is the limit for an organization like yours. Would that be correct?
Yeah, I would say so. So that and somehow it is the difficulty as well. So we work within 10 verticals, right? So I'll name them all. So aviation, defense, manufacturing, so especially meat processing plants, healthcare, mining, construction, logistic, retail, primary industry, so mainly dairy, farming, and forestry, and horticulture. So within those 10 industries, so most of those verticals, those industries, can be positively impacted. Those are the ones that we work within. So, but when we look at who is taking on the most technologies, we notice that the adoption is coming from the organizations in urgent need, right? They cannot not have the technology. So it's not kind of coming from the industry or the workstations, but more of the organizations that are addressing their ESG performances and environmental, social, and governance compliances, as well as their own KPIs. But it's often coming from organizations that cannot not have the technology. So the need, so it is. We started to look at industries and where the need was, but it's actually coming from organizations.
Yeah. Now we know musculoskeletal injuries lead to workers' compensation, with time payouts. We basically reduction in meeting your ability to meet goals in the workplace, and that. Does the cost of introducing your technology to the workplace pay for itself?
Yeah, I'd say, we always reverse engineer from an ROI. It's interesting though. I think the where the technology applies in terms of globally, because we work globally, right? So if it is kind of region dependent. So if you look at Africa, Europe, Australasia, the US, right? So they're all addressing productivity, safety, well-being, and technologies in different ways, based on their own challenges, their KPIs, personal values, company culture, diversity, inclusion policies. So, it's never cut and paste approach, but when you look at Europe and the States, their duty of care for their staff is somehow higher than or different than what we have in Australasia, right? So, and we had to look at the ROI, the return of investment. What does that mean for every region, every industry, every organization? And it is different, right? So when we do the audit, we, because that's part of what we do as well as a service, the consulting part is the first part. We need to look at individually, right? We can't just say, those are their KPIs, or the ROI would work that way. So we have to address their ROI based on whether it is LTI, so lost time injuries, whether it is downtime, production downtime. It is is it safety? Is it increasing productivity by 20%? Everyone has his own KPI, so it's never the same approach for all. Yeah.
Would it be fair to say that this sort of technology can actually extend a worker's in manual fields lifespan, as in working lifespan?
Yes. So definitely delaying retirement, as we call it, so is one of the key. The challenge that we do have globally is that we are depleted of staff, right? So wherever you go especially in a country where in a developed country where staff is valued, and we still have a lot of manual handling, the need is for staff to, for organization to increase staff attraction, retention, so that because we are competing for talents, right? So every organization is competing for talents. We have this pool of talents, and whether you are logistics or whether you are, so we are looking, all of us in the same. So the organization that do provide the technology obviously have a commercial advantage, because they are attracting staff that are looking at work in a very different way, right? So and it has become crucial for retaining talents in organization, as compared to others that don't apply the technology, and where staff move on.
Yeah, I would think, particularly in Western society, where we have generally an aging population, but also an aging workforce, that this sort of thing might be something that is significant help for businesses. From working in heavy industry and working with people in heavy industry, the general feel is once they hit 40, their back's done. Their body has basically had it. They need to start looking at alternative positions, whether it be training or leadership. And let's be honest, not everyone is suited for those roles. If you've been in heavy industry, there is a chance that you're very good at doing manual heavy labor, but if your body doesn't support that anymore, that's a real problem. We don't want people going into early retirement taking all that skill and knowledge with them. So I can definitely see how this would help. And in construction in particular, and even agriculture. I know I did a lot of work on farms in my early days, and people, for example, doing heavy manual work, late 30s, it was time to think of a new career. So this could actually help. I can see a lot. All right. Is exoskeletons the only thing that you do at Exavantage?
Basically Exavantage, just to step back just a bit, but Exavantage is basically a fully integrated workplace solution provider. And we solve two types of problems, right? So we solve the human problems related to increasing well-being, happiness, stamina, going back to your family each day in a better shape. And we address the business problem, which are related to increasing productivity, as I mentioned earlier, ESG performances, staff attraction and retention, while reducing costs such as lost time injuries, staff shortages, and so forth. And so we believe that addressing the S, the social aspect, will play a significant role in the future of work safety and social footprint in general. So we use both software and hardware to deliver our solutions and technologies. So data-driven AI and machine learning systems, wearables, and exoskeletons to address the KPIs that we do have to to exceed. Apart from exoskeletons, we, from a consulting point of view, we provide health, safety, well-being, and technology audits to increase safety outcomes, right? So purely consulting. From a technology point of view, we deploy, as I mentioned, AI and machine learning data-driven solution to predict and prevent injuries. For instance, if you take proximity sensors for forklift and humans, in the US, one person is killed by a forklift accident every 4 days. And our sensors can predict and prevent those injuries. In New Zealand alone, the transport, postal, and warehousing industry has the highest death rate of any industry, by and large, by forklift and forklift-related incidents. So for the workforce, the sensors that we provide increase safety in many ways. So from an ergonomic assessment for body and hands, so how the worker is moving, over bending, is he overreaching, over grabbing, is he PPE compliant, environmental warnings like temperatures, air and sound quality, lone worker safety, which detects a lack of movement. So if the staff has fallen of a ladder, or a stroke, or something like that. So we have a range of technologies from software and hardware to kind of address the same thing, right? So increasing productivity, safety, and well-being in the workforce.
Okay. Just regarding the forklifts one, I would think that's fairly significant because I kind of have a kind of love-hate relationship with forklifts. They are essential in modern workplaces to store and move things. But you're right, they're unforgiving pieces of plant and equipment. They kill and maim people literally every day. How does this proximity sensors actually operate with forklifts?
Yes, the challenge with forklift, as you just mentioned, I mean, there is no blood, right? It hits someone, it's death, right? This is simple. So it's very unforgiving. So how the technology works is basically the forklift have a device fitted on them, and the users that are walking within the logistic, or the fulfillment center or the logistic environment, when they come into the zone, they have a sensor event that vibrates and creates also a noise, basically to alert everyone that someone is coming, right? So that's one of them. And then the person who drives the forklift is also, all the data on how he drives, it goes through to the manager, right? So the manager would see all the data on his screen. Is the person, we can tell if the person is tired, basically, the way, when he's driving. So is he having hard turns or hard brakes or soft? And so the way he's driving, we can tell if he's tired, if he's not focused, does he need a break? So we can really predict and prevent those injuries just with the range of features that we do have around those sensors.
Have you thought of putting something similar in, I don't know, heavy mining trucks for proximity to light vehicles? Because we still have, despite awareness of the problem, we still have every year a series of light vehicles that get run over by some heavy vehicles that have limited visibility.
Yes, I think there's the technology that we do have somehow sometimes have limitation underground when you go too deep. So no problem outside. But I think there's some limitations that we're going through at the moment because we work in mining as well. We're doing that in Perth at the moment, a government mining company. So, but yes, so we are working through it, but you are right. So all those moving trucks and fleet, especially when you have sort of humans, in a environment where humans are sharing the same space, we can definitely predict and prevent those injuries with the technology now. Yes.
Okay. I'm just thinking broadly. Would proximity sensors also be useful for when you have workers working close to exclusion zones?
Yeah, I'd say so. So there is no real limitation on, apart from what I was mentioning, the
Underground.
yeah, underground. We've it's the signals aren't great because we work with the way the systems is set up. But apart from that, I can't see any once we have our beacons, right, set in an environment, there is no limitations to what we can do. Yeah.
Oh, excellent. Do you find that when you have this new technology, whether it be exoskeletons, proximity sensors, etc., like that, do you find that you are still getting some resistance from organizations or workers who don't see the need for change? Do you find that you actually have to sell the product and its benefits fairly hard to get through some of resistance?
Again, it is region dependent, as I mentioned earlier. I think we've been in the industry working with organizations long enough to know why the leadership team would engage with this initiative and why the CFO would allow the change purely from a commercial point of view. And the ROI matrix that we've developed, Australasia, US, and so forth, they're different, right? So they are different. So now we know how an organization will, address his ESG, performances, or how does organization in the US see safety and claims and compensations, and so lost time injuries and hiring costs and all those hidden costs, production downtime and all these costs that are we can map that out pretty easy. So we had resistance early on because we didn't know exactly where the need was, but now it's kind of very easy for us to know to give this initiative very easily to the leadership team, and for the leadership to carry on this journey for the next 24 60 months of deployment, because it's not obviously something that you just provide and then move on. It is continuous change, right? So it's ongoing change as staff get used to the technology, as you keep increasing your KPIs. So I would say that we had some when we started, but less and less as we go towards that. And also, organizations, when they know about, we are basically transforming the largest pharmaceutical company in the world, currently starting in Kansas. So, when they think about those organizations and why they do it, and for them it makes sense to do it as well, right? So because it's human nature to ask who else, right? Who else is doing this, and why should I care? So we can address that fairly easily now. Yeah.
Okay. I like the fact that you have a 4-step process, which consists of auditing, analyzing the situation, providing advice, and then if the organization wants to proceed, applying the technology. It really seems like it's a well thought out, structured program to actually help businesses so that they literally can leave the expertise to you and then take on board what technology or solutions you actually have in place for them. For the workers themselves, is putting on an exoskeleton and that is it time consuming? Is it a complicated task, or is it something that's fairly user friendly?
So passive exoskeletons are the technology that we provide the most because of the high user acceptance, and it's getting higher and higher every 6 months, every year. So if you look at a passive exoskeleton, it's almost like a backpack, right? It weighs about 500 grams, 600 grams, some of them, and it's basically you put it on like a backpack. It's about 3 to 4 clicks depending on the technology. So chest and belt, and then your thighs, and it takes about 10 seconds to put it on. So it really is fast. We cannot have something that takes. There's two things, right? So we can't have something that is going to take more than a minute to set up, and the other thing is we can't have someone else to help you to put your exoskeleton on, right? You need to be able to put it yourself fast and go to work and not thinking about it, because obviously it's a PPE, it's a smart PPE, but like any PPE, there is some kind of resistance when you start, right? It's something that you put on you. So 20 years ago we didn't have any specific PPE gear. You would turn up on the side and flip-flop and a t-shirt, it would be fine. And now we have not only safety managers but safety teams going to sites. So we've evolved a lot from what we were before 20 years ago to what we're seeing now. But again, from a PPE point of view, our job is to make it as light as possible, as breathable as possible, as hygienic as possible, and every year that goes towards that way.
Okay. Does the exoskeletons that you provide, do they actually provide some sort of like real-time feedback for managers on workers' performance and whether workers are putting themselves in sort of dangerous or risky situations?
Predicting and preventing injuries is the key. Obviously, the exoskeleton, if you think purely from an ergonomic point of view, the exoskeletons provide instant ergonomic support, right? So, but from a AI data point of view, it really is about predicting and preventing injuries. So what we provide is real data feedback to the managers, so they can see how their workforce is moving. Are they at risk? Is that person a trainee? Is he supposed to be there? And if not, it would be flagged, right? So we can see everyone on the screen basically, and we can tell who is at risk, and we can predict and prevent those injuries to happen from a data point of view, not just a verbal feedback, like like a staff wearing an exoskeleton saying, yes, I feel great, but that's not enough, right? We need to do more in terms of predicting and preventing injuries. The exoskeleton is a predictive, it prevents injuries in the way that it is a predictive technologies, but it's purely ergonomic, right? So we need the data for organizations. They need the data to be able to see, well, Christmas is coming. It's going to be 5 times more volume that we're going to have to handle, or the holiday is coming and this is going to be holiday time, so we expect more online shopping, and therefore we know that we're going to need to to do that based on the data where we had the previous year, for instance. So data is really the key, because it's not just a verbal feedback, it is measurable.
Yeah. Are you looking at things like transport industry where drivers are getting in and out of trucks all day? And I'm thinking there of couriers as well, where basically they're lifting parcels after they've been cold, after they get in and out of vehicles constantly. But was there any thought about having a look at that industry?
Yes, so that's the parcel industry, or we call it logistics. So in logistics, you have all those workstations, people working inside the logistics fulfillment centers, and then you have the courier, guys, right? So basically, there is an exoskeleton for that, right? So when you're driving and handling, delivering, boxes and all the everyday. So we do have technology there. We've done some testing, and it was interesting to see that even when you're sitting with those exoskeleton on, your back was more supported while being seated, right? As opposed, and then as you come out of your, you come out of your van and you pick up and then you go up. So that is obviously a no-brainer, but it was also the fact that when they were sitting, they were supported. Yeah.
Okay, excellent. Exoskeletons, do they have to be individually fitted, or can they be just adjusted and put on? For example, if I've got 50 workers, do I need 50 exoskeletons, even though that my workers are on 2 different shifts, or can I adapt them so I don't need one for each particular person?
You can do both. So if the organizations has the capacity to have every exoskeleton per user, then it's faster for the user to put it on, because he doesn't have to change the settings. They're quite simple, sort of drops and but he's used to it. He's probably going to even use it at home. I would say we had that before, where staff they were taking the technology outside and at home in a domestic environment as well. I'm talking loading dishwashers and so forth. But it's if the organizations would say, we have shift work, and they are doing 8-hour shift or 12-hour shifts, whatever. So then you can share, right? You can share. When you go towards like, let's say, meat processing plants and so forth, hygiene is key. It's like working in a lab, obviously. So we protect the exoskeletons with smocks and other ways to do it. But hygiene is always key. So having one exoskeleton per user is always best from a hygiene point of view as well, right? So but otherwise, yeah, you could have both. Your shift work using it happens a lot, and then individual exoskeletons for staff as well.
Good. All right. As a company that's basically shooting for the stars globally, is being based in New Zealand a disadvantage?
No, the world has become tinier and tinier. You get on the plane and you go, and then we do a lot of it, virtually now, with especially with COVID. Since COVID, we had to change the business model to be more flexible. We couldn't not just stop working. So a lot of work is done. With the organizations, we can do that together remotely. But from personal experience, when I think about a deployment, a successful deployment really is when you stay close to the organization, basically from a human point of view, because you are wearing a smart PPE, and a progressive deployment with a high human interaction is, I believe, the key to success. If you do that, you have much better success. But it hasn't been a challenge so far, and we work globally without any issues. And obviously the team is getting bigger and bigger as well. So, we're spreading out. I don't have to fly to Australia. Scott is doing this and so forth, right? So yeah, as we expanding, we are having teams all around the world as well.
Yeah, I can see this actually, the need or the demand for this actually exploding. I can see the need for it. How big are we going to see ExoVantage in the next 5 years?
Yeah, so I think when I think about um, the large, obviously, I mean there is a few things here. So when you want to drive social change, you want to look at the largest market possible, right? So at the moment there is 2.8 billion workers, that needs to be supported. I think so. Our vision is to augment, empower, and protect the global workforce. And the reason is that we want to shape the future of work and safety at scale to create meaningful social change, not just having a few people using it, right? So in targeting the largest market possible, we make the technology more accessible for everyone, and of course, including individuals, right? So not just in the industrial deployments. So there is no capping to us, right? So and when I kind of started the company, it was almost overwhelming because I could see people in need everywhere, wherever you go. Obviously we bias because we work within augmenting and supporting people, so we see that all the time. But as you get more and more into it, we as workers, we think that pain is part of the work, and it isn't, right? So there is ways around that. We keep improving the ways we do this, but pain shouldn't be part of the equation, so in terms of when we look at all those verticals, all those industries, there is no capping, and everyone should really benefit from this. And the more we do it, obviously, and the more we can have accessible technology for all.
Yeah. All right. I know time has slipped away from us. I just want to thank you for coming on and sharing the information you have and the exciting technology. I think it's exciting because I can see a lot of application for it. But for now, Arnaud, thanks very much for your time, and I do look forward to speaking to you again soon.
Thank you for having me, Tom. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Health and Safety Conversations with Tom Bourne. Until next time, stay safe and enjoy the rest of your week.